Like people are sort of looking for a way out, you know, they're looking for something that like gets them away from the materialism of the world, and they've become Gallaghered, you know?
All I need is a sledgehammer and some big fruit.
Right, and you can have happiness, and you can have like eternal truth, and I think that's beautiful. Want to start recording?
Oh yeah, let's cue it up.
Welcome back to Boys Bible Study. We lead you through green pastures. We lead you beside still waters. My name's Ash. My co-host is
Scott.
And today our very special guest is our friend Woodrow White. He is an artist, illustrator, and filmmaker based right here in Los Angeles. Woodrow, welcome.
Hey y'all. Good to be here.
Hey. Yeah, so nice to have you. Today for Boys Bible Study, we went slightly off the beaten path. This absolutely has like upfront Christian and mystical themes, but we're actually covering some cult media. Now you might say, Ash, society is a cult, but no, we're talking about like a real ass cult. This is a film coming out of the Children of God, now known as the Family International. It's called 20 Minutes to Go.
20 minutes to go.
Woodrow, how did you see this initially? What led you to showing it to me? Because I had straight up never heard of it before you brought it to my attention a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I discovered this when I was around 15 years old.
Yeah.
I was taking classes at CalArts over the summer, and I was in the film program. And one of my teachers, this really cool guy named Lee, they would just play like crazy experimental films for us all the time in this class. I got introduced to so much weird culture. But one day he was just like, yeah, I've got this really strange video. And it was 20 Minutes to Go. It was specifically the track 20 Minutes to Go. It was a really bad video dub of it that he himself had like uploaded to YouTube. And I was immediately like mesmerized. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And it kind of just became a running joke, like a kind of like thing people would reference in class all the time. People would just kind of sing it or hum it.
You guys thought the end of the world was a joke?
Oh yeah. At 15, you treat these things lightly.
Yeah,
Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I didn't see the rest of this until I want to say 5 years ago, where I was thinking back to it. One night I was just like, what's the story of that? And I just began researching it, and I found the entire video on YouTube. And my roommate and I, we got really high and started watching it. And so it was kind of like a second discovery.
It makes sense that this is something that's just like stuck in your head for so long, even seeing it years ago, because it's like a very compelling piece. Speaking of which, just like finding this, Scott, is there any available physical media of this? Were you able to find anything in your research?
Well, there was a VHS of it. I did not find a copy for myself to purchase, which is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just came out on VHS. It is a pretty great cover.
The cover's beautiful.
Yeah, great illustration of a lot of characters from the production. And an hourglass that is almost up.
I don't know the sands to time visual scale, but if I had to guess, I would say there was about 20 minutes to go left in that hourglass.
Yeah, that's a good guess. It's a good guess.
I'm just going to use my experience as a religious film critic to make that claim. So I think the proper way to introduce this film, first of all, I do want to say that, although Scott and I had never heard of this, it's been around for a while, as Woodrow was saying, and it definitely has a cult following online. Like, you can just find various uploads of this. Some of them have hundreds of thousands of views. I will say, when I was taking a look at the uploads of this today, almost all the material in this film is like music video based on songs that were written by members of this cult. And one of the most famous music videos is called Kathy Don't Go.
Kathy, don't go. Don't go, please don't go. Kathy, don't go to the supermarket today. Kathy, don't go to the supermarket
And that song appears to have like the biggest online following. This is not a world I know anything about, but there's this clique of like Twitch streamers that I think one of them like uses this song as an intro, because if you like go to an upload, there's, oh my God, if any one of them finds this, I'm going to sound like such an old person, but like there's a guy named like Penguin Zero and another guy named Critical. And it's like, if you look at uploads of this song, it's like hundreds of comments of people being like Penguin Zero podcast, like blah, blah, blah. So, it definitely has a cult following. Like, people really appreciate this. And like, I think if anyone here watches, and if any of our gentle listeners watch this, they'll understand why. You can find 20 Minutes to Go on YouTube, uploaded in full. So I would recommend checking it out.
Yeah, these songs are very catchy. It's well worth watching. And the editing's really great. Like I was saying while we were watching, I would love to be able to interview the editor, because they really went all out on this.
How do you think this was shot? This was shot on video?
Yeah, I would assume mostly. Yeah. It was definitely stock footage that wasn't shot on video, but
right.
I think all the parts that they shot were on video.
Like a bunch of, pieces of religious media, there's not often like credits for it online. I mean, with, like studio Christian movies that we watch, of course you can find IMDb credits, but like Woodrow, we've like several times covered on the pod Jehovah's Witness films, and like that's an example of a Christian sect who intentionally like do not provide any credit information or anything like that. Our theory on that is because either that like the members are doing it for God, or they just sort of like want to create this like, not really a mystique, but just this idea that it's like it's bigger than us, it's bigger than the people who made it,
Certainly.
Yeah, stay humble.
Totally.
Well, when I was first introduced to this video back in like 2007, there wasn't quite as much information online too.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until like, I was like in my 20s where I like came back to this and realized like, you could find a copy online.
Right. So I will introduce that 20 Minutes to Go is by Aurora Productions, which is a media production wing of what is now known as the Family International. It is a cult by, standards of the term. They consider themselves a church, I'm sure. Some basic info on it. Founded in Huntington Beach in the late 60s, sort of tangential to like the hippie movement. It had some early appeal, sort of marketing itself to hippies. Founded by a man named David Berg, currently led by his widow, Karen Zerby. At first, it started as Teens for Christ. Then it was called Children of God, which is how it seems to be popularly known. But now it is known as the Family International. Not to be confused with, there's an Australian cult called The Family that's very notorious, but we are not talking about them. We're talking about the Huntington Beach, the Family International.
Are they still going strong then?
I think they're still going. I don't know about strong, but I do believe they're still going.
Huntington Beach too. That's just like ground zero for stuff like that.
Right. I mean, this whole fucking area is like, there is such an evil vortex surrounding this area. Like, can we all agree? Like
certainly. Yeah. California is cursed.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Like, of course, one of our biggest religious exports in the Los Angeles area, of course, is Scientology, which has like fascinated people for, decades at this point. And there's hundreds of cults. On an earlier bonus episode I talked about Manly P. Hall, who's not a cult leader. I really like him, actually, but he was just like a religious scholar who was very popular in Los Angeles in like the 30s. And I was researching him, and I found some statistic that like in the 30s in Los Angeles, there were like 220 known like active cults. I would imagine that number is still, there's probably still stuff going on. And I'm sure that was also true in the 60s as well, when the Children for God started under the name Teens for Christ. But yeah, they're kind of infamous for a couple things. Probably the biggest thing they're known for, we were talking about, and it's going to be important to this film. So, Woodrow, what is flirty fishing?
It's basically like they were having like, from what I was reading, this is a very like Reader's Digest version, but they were encouraging like their young followers to seduce guys and kind of like lure them into the church. Like basically like go off, seduce these men and introduce them to our cult.
Right. Flirty fishing is such a like insidious and like playful term.
Yeah.
And would it surprise anyone to know that there's like rampant accusations of like abuse, sexual abuse, child sexual abuse coming from this cult? But yeah, in my research, I found it written that like women in the group were working as escorts, and they would, yeah, as you said, like seduce men, also like charge for their escorting services. And according to one source I read online, it's like that money from escorting would also fund the church, and also it was used as a recruitment tool.
Wow.
It does seem like, a big difference, a big reason that you can tell this is like cult media as opposed to the more like mainstream Christian media that we tend to watch for the show is like sex and sexuality is like a running theme through this production. Like it's pretty fucking horny, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say it's sex positive if I didn't know the other things that you just said.
Exactly.
About flirty fishing and such. Like just from watching the video, I would not guess this is what they're up to.
Certainly.
Yeah. I mean, like, at face value, I'm not trying to make light of any of this.
Right, of course.
It's like, it's very disturbing. But like on initial watch, when you first see it, you're like, what is this? Like, like you just want to know more. And the deeper you get, the worse it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I don't know. I think overall that aspect of it really strikes me when I watch this. Like, granted, this is like obviously a professional production. The editing, camera work, everything is very sophisticated. But like everyone who stars in the film is like, the main characters at least are probably teens. Like I would say right around like 18 years old, maybe younger, maybe older.
Yeah.
Everyone's really hot, like they cast some hot teens.
Well, yeah, they're making music videos, Ash.
Exactly. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just like there's nothing like explicitly sexual, but also like all the teen boys get like shirtless.
Well, there's that shot of that guy, like he's like in metaphorical chains.
Yes.
Like his soul is like wrapped in chains. It's just a shirtless guy like dancing around with chains on him.
Right. Yeah, like writhing in like emotional torment. Like this is like shirtless hot teen with like tight pants, and like it's just very like it's horny. Just that's all I can say. And the other part that really struck me, that was like, let's count down the top 20 horniest moments in 20 minutes to go. I really liked at the end when like the families are all whisked away to heaven, and like the dad is like hot and shirtless and wearing like a gold cape and just like hanging with his, I don't know. It's just like, even when they depict like full families together, they're all like hot and wearing like sort of seductive amounts of clothing. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Oh, that's good because when you die and go to heaven, you can just have sex all the time.
Right.
It's the time to party.
Of course.
To just rewards.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's 25, looks hot.
Yes.
See, if you do that stuff on Earth, it's like having dessert before dinner. Like,
yeah.
big no.
Yeah, you got to wait for your heavenly reward.
That's why it's so horny. Like, everyone in the cult's just waiting to fuck.
Right. And yeah, that really just like seems like it's the case in general. We already talked about the flirty fishing, of course. From other like brief research, I do want to say, just as an aside, if anyone listening, any of our beautiful, gentle listeners want some information on the Family International, go to this website, exfamily.org. That's exfamily.org. It appears to be a resource for ex-members. It is a vast site. There is so much summarized history, search engines where you can go through all of founder David Berg's writings. There's also like a chat board, like an old style like chat board that's still active. Like there's posts happening in September 2020. So there's definitely people still in communication with each other. I really could just spend a lot of time going through here, but I wanted to say that because, like, you know, we'll only be able to provide like a brief context of what's going on, but like there's a huge web of info. I found, looking through that, this like little, I posted it in our notes, guys, but like there's this little comic that was, I guess, part of like literature that they would distribute as part of David Berg's teachings. And you can see it's like a naked woman, and it's like says like the main thing we're trying to give them is God's love, not just sex. And it's a man going like, wow. And the naked woman saying, I am God's love.
Yeah.
And it's just like really explicit that like, yeah, sex and, you know, missioning to non-members are things that should go hand in hand. And you can totally see that in this film. It's kind of like titillating in like not an overt way, but it's like, you know, the hot teens are making out with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's very Manson-esque.
Yes.
You know, like Charles Manson, he used to, like, you know, he would order his underlings to like sleep with people.
Totally. Yeah, it absolutely has that vibes. Any of that like cult shit that was adjacent to like, you know, flower power. God, it's funny because like, I don't know, I love 60s music and it's like very easy to romanticize that era. But the more you learn about like the cults and stuff like that, I start to think like, God, that must have been a fucking nightmare, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand anyone who's nostalgic for the 70s.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh, God.
Even all the like great movies that were made in the 60s and early 70s, like it takes very little looking behind the scenes to be like, oh God, of like most things that were made.
Right.
We were feeling the effects of the like post-war Vietnam. It just felt it seemed like it was really nihilistic at that point.
Right. Like there's some like aesthetic things that we can look back on and like, you know, find novelty in or think it just seemed like kind of goofy and fun, which is true. But I don't know. And you just hear about things like this and it's like, yeah, of course, it's not representative of like everyone's attitude, but it's like you can quickly see how like love generation type rhetoric can have like an evil edge to it and have, you know, really bad like morals underneath the
certainly.
The
I mean,
surface.
people are always searching for an answer, and that's what the void cults try to fill.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially in such a terrible time as the 70s.
Right. Yeah.
It's just all fallout from the 60s.
Totally. And yeah, and I mean, that was around the time, Children of God, like I said, formed under the name Teens for Christ in 1968.
But doesn't that seem like a really short-sighted name, Teens for Christ? I mean, obviously they changed it, but
yeah.
Like, how do we recruit teens to this thing? And like 2 years later, they're like, wait a minute.
We got yeah, the teens have grown up now, and we need to really expand our mission here. So that was when they became the Children of God, apparently.
You never say we're all the teens of God. It's we're all the children of God.
People need to start saying that.
We are all God's teens.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna go be like hot in heaven, then like why can't we be all of God's like cum-brained teens? You know, like why not? But last bit of like background information. Another like well-known fact about Children of God is that there's a couple celebrities, notable people that like grew up in its ranks. Most notably, Joaquin Phoenix, the Phoenix kids,
brothers,
the Phoenix brothers grew up in the church. Rose McGowan is known to have grown up in the church. I would assume, like other Los Angeles-based things, like even though this movie was filmed in Japan, that there's like we were saying, or you were sort of saying, Woodrow, like before we were talking about this, like the fact that cults need a good propaganda wing, and having cults based in like the LA area is like very convenient for that.
Oh, certainly.
And internationally too, because like I mentioned, this was apparently filmed in Tateyama, Japan, where an international colony of this group settled after trying to escape some bad press that they were getting in the United States.
You can tell it's not America.
Right.
It's got that weird feeling when you watch a movie that's set in America but shot in Canada, and you're like, things just don't feel quite right.
Right, in the sense of
this doesn't feel like America. Like,
right,
this feels like an alternate universe America or something.
Yeah, it's unfamiliar. It's familiar yet unfamiliar, and there was some like beautiful like mountainside scenes. There's like a beautiful mountain clearing at the end, and like a lot of the cast was like white. There were some like Japanese and like Asian people in the cast, but the cast was mostly like white or like American looking or whatever you want to say. So it was definitely supposed to like give that impression. But yeah, it was actually filmed in Japan. But let's actually go through this. So 20 Minutes to Go is a collection of music videos, and it doesn't really have a plot per se, but we can start to unpack some themes of this if we go through the track list and talk about it. So the first song is called Watch Out for 666.
Watch out for 666. Watch out for 666. In a vision of the future.
And it's a banger. They get straight into like the end time 666, the apocalypse is coming style setup that I know and love from the 90s. Mm-hmm. The getting the mark of the beast, having to use it to scan at checkout. It's replaced all money. You just use this chip that's in your hand. And it's really fast cut. And the police and military are everywhere. They keep showing a TV, cutting with all these terrible things happening in the world that look a lot like things I see in my feed pretty much every day at this point. And the song bangs. It's a good song. At this point, I didn't realize the whole video was going to be a compilation of music videos. So I was like, wow, what a start. This is great.
Right.
Keep it coming. And boy, did I luck out.
It's true. And spot on about the fact that like they have a very like Christian, like stereotypically Christian understanding of the book of Revelations. Like there is an antichrist who deceives the world, but they tell it in a very accessible, like modern way. And they use the theme of the supermarket. Like the supermarket is like a big visual motif in their work. The barcode scanner tattoo, that's like their version of the mark of the beast, which is very clever. In the book of Revelations, it talks about receiving the mark of the beast. In this one, you actually get a barcode. You become like government property.
I think this is the earliest version I've seen of that from the 90s too, because in the late 90s, for sure, I saw a lot of people were like getting tattoos of barcodes to like make a statement, about commodification of people. Yeah. But this is from 1990s, so I mean, they're pretty on top of it here.
I feel like it's all post Cold War panic, like the Soviet Union's dissolved, and we have the West is triumphant, and there's this great fear that the whole world is just going to be ruled by one single power.
The New World Order.
New World Order, as Bush said, Bush Sr.
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era.
Yes, he did. And that's like a huge, that's just in general. I mean, conspiracy theorists there's always the idea of the new world order, the idea of the globalists. Alex Jones famously talks about the new world order and the globalists. And like what I thought was really unique and compelling about 20 Minutes to Go was that they combined that theory in a way I hadn't really seen before with, the just things we see in our day-to-day lives that made for some very compelling metaphors. Yeah. Watch out for 666. There's this guy on TV. Like I love it. There's like the new government has risen up, and it's like everything's 666. Like everyone's just suddenly super cool with the idea. Like, well, this guy's
nothing strange about this. Nothing to worry about. Nothing fishy. Really bold marketing there, calling it 666.
Yeah,
it kicks ass.
It's the best decision since Reagan launched the Star Wars program.
Totally. Yeah, and a lot of this video, if you hadn't told me, I wouldn't guess it was a cult. I would just think it was a very Revelations-focused Christian production company.
For the first several minutes, you're not really sure what you're watching. He turns on the TV, and there's like a silent movie playing. And then suddenly the news interrupts it to talk about this new computer chip you put in your brain.
Yeah. Yeah, before that, it seemed like it could have been any kind of TV show or movie from 1990, just aesthetically and how it was going.
I feel like a lot of videos, like growing up and like being in classes and having like teachers come in and put a VHS tape in, lots of like edutainment usually started like that, where you weren't sure exactly why you were watching what you were watching, and slowly it would become clear it was like, a show about a special about drug abuse or some heavy shit they would throw on you.
That's a good point. And there's a lot of stuff from that era specifically where people are like turning on a TV and they're bringing you into the story by somebody already in the story turning on a TV.
Yeah, there's a lot of preoccupation with like media was becoming very self-aware. The idea of mass media and consuming mass media, like people were starting to become like ironic and like cynical about that.
Hey, I guess that is what it is, because it's like you don't have to show me the TV turning on. I'm already watching TV.
Well, it's
meta. It's very meta.
Yeah, it's almost a parallel to like, I don't know if you can like remember like early 2010s like net art, where like everything, people were like using aesthetics of like you are watching this online, which is funny because that seems like kind of quaint now, but like at the time it seemed like very like sort of dirty and like punked. Like you'd have a video and like within the video you would see like the loading bar. It's just like sort of playing. It's like, you are watching this on the internet, and I think that's almost like 20 years earlier, an equivalent to that, but using like home video.
Certainly.
Speaking of dirty and punk, one thing I learned from this video is that all punks go to hell.
Yes, all punks go to hell. All dogs go to heaven. All punks go to hell.
Why are they so anti-punk? I thought the punks were like, I thought the freaks were okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Damned.
Yeah, there were just like, there were some moments where we see punks literally like writhing in hell. And then
they get thrown into a room full of flames.
Yeah. And then like there's that scene in one of the ending songs, which we'll describe, but there's that part where like a guy looks back on his old friends who he doesn't understand anymore because he's like repented of his sinful ways, and they're all punks, and he's dressed like a total fucking prep. Like he's like wearing a giant sweater tied around his neck. And it's just like, once you find God, you become like someone with like a country club membership in Massachusetts or something. Like it's very strange.
It's very like Stepford Wives-y.
Yes, which is funny because they're so anti like being programmed and stuff, but they do really sort of purport like there's this like aesthetic that you achieve once you reach enlightenment. And it's very
God
funny.
mode unlocked.
Yeah. So the next song after Watch Out for 666, we have a tender ballad called Why Is That Tear in Your Eye?
You've got a car and a bar and a TV set. You've got the latest in fashion and you travel by jet. Yes, you've got everything made to satisfy. So why is that tear in your eye, my love? Why is that tear in your eye? You've got a beautiful
We have a guy riding his bike through the hills of Japan. And a girl who's driving her car. She looks a little too young for the role. She seems to be like playing like this like young spinstress.
Right, but she's like 13 for some reason.
She's like
I don't know.
14 or 15 or some shit. She's like they have like this weird meet cute where they intersect on the road, and then we start seeing this montage of her rich and privileged life, but in private she's miserable, and it's accompanied by this song called "Why Is That Tear in Your Eye."
It's one of the duller songs in the mix, like compositionally.
Yeah, I mean, even me describing it, it's just so bland. It's just like it's just this collection of shots of like this miserable rich young woman.
Yeah, I was already struggling to remember it. And they get the point across in like the first 5 seconds. And it's basically, as far as like the theme of it goes, they're just looping 5 seconds for the whole entirety of the song.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like it has like 3 too many verses.
Yes. Yeah, there's all these, the verses are hammering home like, you can have a house with
You've
a
got a
swimming
bunch
pool.
of
clothes. Yeah, but it's like, but why is that tear in your eye? I love the title. Like, I love the phrase, why is that tear in your eye? I definitely wish the song was like, they absolutely just like, if they would have just made it more compact, it could have been a banger of a ballad. But yeah, there's an anti-materialist bent to this whole piece, which is so funny because of like what we were just talking about with like the prep aesthetic that sort of like in the visual storytelling like symbolizes your enlightenment. But yet, you can have a swimming pool, you can have fancy sunglasses, you can travel around the world. You can have like a waiter pouring you orange juice at a table at a restaurant.
This obsession with orange juice in this entire series of music videos, it's so strange.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if they just do that like as like a set dressing technique, because like orange juice is like a colorful liquid, but it's just like in every scene where a character's drinking a beverage, it always appears to be orange juice. Like at one point where there's a guy, like a teen boy, mind you, shirtless in bed, and he's
writhing. He's writhing and he's in tears. And there's a glass of orange juice by his bed. Your nighttime orange juice drink, that we all have.
And maybe you're writhing because your fucking like stomach's upset from just like drinking orange juice at all hours of the night.
I got to keep that acid in my stomach at all hours of the night.
Yeah.
Well, like I said earlier, he might be having a Molly come down, and you gotta get your vitamin C in.
Oh, fair enough. That's why that tear's in your eye.
Right, yeah.
Tears coming down.
Tears of joy.
MDMA.
The best night of your life.
Tears of joy, yeah.
Next song, Fire and Ice.
Fire and ice collided that night. My cold, darkened heart met the heat of your light. Fire and ice became one that night. With your flame of love, my heart did unite.
Now this is just a sexy song.
This is like one of the most uncomfortable parts.
It's just this really, like, almost every song has like, an anti-materialist bent or an apocalyptic bent. This song is just about like meeting a hot teen in a nightclub, and it's like fire and ice,
It collided that night, the fire and ice.
Yes.
As the song says.
It certainly did. I find this one maybe to be the catchiest in the whole piece. This is the one where we see, like we described earlier, the shirtless teen boy in chains. We also see an extended sequence of like the shirtless teen boy and like the girl in a bikini, like in the ocean, like aggressively making out with each other. it's very hot. You know, you're supposed to like be a teen boy, like watching this and like, you know, pop a spiritual boner and like maybe consider like hopping into the children of God.
Spiritual boner.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like good silhouettes of them too. They're like both well dressed, dancing together, obviously having a great time, really into each other. It's just a nice little love story.
Yes.
Can you imagine being that age and being seduced by a girl and then like discovering that like the entire time she's just trying to get you into this weird cult?
I would probably join the cult.
Right, exactly. I mean, they
yeah. When you're 16, 15, you'll do anything.
Right, of course.
Oh, especially if their main thing was like, oh, Revelations is the most serious. I'd be like, okay, well, you're taking this more serious than my church is. So
right.
I'm all ears.
So next up, we have Green Door.
So watch out for the green door. It may lead where you don't belong. Have your name written in heaven and your reservation confirmed. So watch out for the green door. It may lead where you don't belong. Have your name written in heaven and your reservation confirmed.
Now, this is the one where we see like the punks writhing in hell.
Yes.
I read this song. This song, it's funny that they use the color green. I'm not really sure why that was, but they sort of like were hypothesizing this place, this sort of like underground place that was almost like a laboratory, but then it just sort of became an extended metaphor about the fact that like if you live a sinful life, then your sins will just be like shown to you and you'll be reliving them in torment in hell.
It's like hell is this like tangible place, this tangible bureaucratic nightmare.
Yeah.
Like this Kafka-esque series of white hospital hallways.
The editing is like super extra for this one too. Like I really feel like they went completely all in for this one.
Yeah, there's like angels with like flapping wings. There's like people covered in flames. It's just like really vivid. I also want to point out, this is just like a random thing, but like I think I told you this, Woodrow, when we were first watching it, but like in my hometown, there was this like popular, like if you looked on like the Craigslist, like sex sections, there was this place called Green Door. That was like this like hookup place. Like,
oh yeah, you mentioned this when we watched this. We watched 20 minutes ago for the first time.
Right. It's just funny. It's just a coincidence. But yeah, in Allentown, if you look through like Craigslist there, you would just see these like things like, I'll be at like Green Door tonight, like looking for this. I never knew where it was.
Maybe the songwriter was a regular.
Right. It's just funny to think that the Children of God's conception of the underworld was like, you know, right near me.
Oh yeah.
I had some friends who I never knew where it was. I had some friends that went there one time, and they said it was just a lot of like men standing around waiting for something to happen. I don't know. Doesn't sound that fun, but then again, I'm a Christian, so I don't know. I wouldn't do anything like that. Just going through a couple more of these songs before we just talk about general themes.
The next song was my favorite. The song wasn't my favorite, but the video for it was my favorite. It's gonna take a lot of love.
That day, is there something we can do? Yes, you can receive the man who lived the golden rule. Then do unto your neighbor like you'd wished he'd do to you. It's gonna take a lot of love to turn this world around. It's gonna take a lot of love to turn this world around.
Well, it's about people working at a restaurant, and Woodrow, you pointed out that I guess it's probably like the restaurant manager looks a lot like Clint Howard.
Yeah.
You're right. There was this extended scene that was really just sort of like showing how horrible it is to work as a dishwasher at a restaurant. And I do want to point out that this might possibly be a playful way of buying into the Family International's like big theme. They would they would call, like, the straight world or, normal life or whatever you want to call it. They would refer to it as the system. I mean, obviously that's a very common way people will say, like, I don't want to be a part of the system, but that was their sort of like mythology of the world outside of the family. And I think this was supposed to be a moment that was just like, hey, jobs suck, man. Which, I mean, like, let's be real. Like, they do.
Yeah.
And this was promising, if you spend time. I think the, top tier of being involved in the Family International was like, you did completely disassociate from the normal world and that you gave everything to living and working within the family. They didn't really get that far into it, but I don't know, like, because the course of the song, the themes of the song are basically about how fucked up the world is, and like it's going to take a lot of love, as the title says, to change the world around. But yeah, it just starts out with this guy working a really shitty job where all his managers and coworkers like yell at him, and doesn't really come back to that at all. So I think it's just trying to be like, yeah, doesn't your job fucking suck? Come join our cult instead, What's
so sinister about all this is that it takes some very like genuine concern about, like war and poverty and suffering and capitalism first and foremost. Like it's got a very anti-capitalist message.
Yeah,
but they are appropriating like, leftist discourse on capitalism and using it to gain followers instead of, actually working to dismantle capitalism itself.
Oh, absolutely.
It all reads as very insincere.
I mean, do you have time to dismantle capitalism, though, when the world's going to end in 20 minutes?
That's true. That's true. We got 20 minutes. Let's see the fucking minute-by-minute breakdown on that.
Throw on the second half of the tape. Hang out with your favorite cult members, and then go to heaven.
Speaking of which, brings us to our next song, the title song of the film, 20 Minutes to Go.
The first incoming missiles should reach their target areas within 20 minutes. I urge all our citizens to seek out the best available shelter.
20 minutes to go. Never saw you look this way before. What was that he said about the war?
Literally 20 minutes to go before the world explodes, before nuclear annihilation.
Right.
Before my frozen pizza's done.
Before your frozen pizza's done.
Yeah, put the pizza in the oven and start saying to yourself, 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, we were saying we really wished this song was 20 minutes, because then you could count down to your pizza.
Yeah. As soon as you hear like the report on the news that says the bombs are coming, just put this track on, close your eyes, smile on your face, and wait it out. But this part of the tape was very scary. It's
very grim and it's very tense and scary. Yeah, it starts off with like a girl playing in the park with her dad and their dog. And they're having a great time, and they're driving home, and all of a sudden, as the kids get out of the car, the radio starts up, and the president's making this announcement that basically we're fucked. And, like, life as we know it's going to be ended.
So I've seen that in, like, a number of movies, both Christian and secular, where the president is letting us know what's up. Do y'all think if this really happened, where we had 20 minutes to go, the president would bother to say anything? And I don't even just mean our current president. I mean any president we've had.
Didn't like Disney or some like billionaire have something like that?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know.
What exactly?
A video that was like, the apocalypse is happening. Like, here's what's like, what's going to happen after. Like, there was, I'm going to cut this out.
Oh, yeah. It might have been like Turner. Fuck.
Oh yeah, the video CNN, Ted Turner's Turner Broadcasting System. There was like an apocalypse video. It did leak. There was a video that was supposed to play. It's called the Turner Doomsday video. That was supposed to play if the apocalypse happened. We'll play the national anthem one time, And when the end of the world comes, we'll play Nearer My God to Thee before we sign off. Pretty cool. So yeah, there was definitely like a sort of like grim, like the entertainment of the end times aspect of 20 Minutes to Go. It's just like very grim. And like even though it's like very silly and like cheesy, and the song is a banger.
No, but you can you can imagine being in those shoes, you know, like it's virtually possible it could happen. Like, especially us having grown up as 9/11 kids.
Yeah.
Like being that age that girl is in the video, like seeing her dad like shush her when he's like trying to listen to the radio.
Right.
Like that was what 9/11 was like.
Yes,
was like,
that's
you know,
true.
like you're like, Mom, Dad, why are you so like transfixed on the radio right now? Like what's going on? Like it activates a lot of that fear for us like millennials.
Certainly. No, I think that's spot on. And no, yeah, you really can't help but put yourself in the character's shoes, even though it's like sort of a heavy-handed message. Also, this contains one of our favorite lines in the whole video, which is when the president picks up the phone and says, "Hello, this is the president."
Yeah. Classic president words.
I love that.
Guess who?
This leads us to our next song. We're getting to the third act of the piece. This Must Be Heaven.
It's so warm, so loving. Mommy, Daddy, this must be heaven. Heaven, what a wonderful place to be. This must be heaven, heaven.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is heaven, based on the clips.
It's pretty much 20 Minutes to Go Part 2. None of the other songs in this video are ever two-parters, or like, you know, the narratives don't feed into each other.
Right.
But 20 Minutes to Go and This Must Be Heaven are intrinsically linked.
Very much so. The same family that we're sort of following in the drama of 20 Minutes to Go
We see them die.
We see them die. They're all reunited in the void, in the darkness, and they all
smoke machine.
Yeah, and they all find each other. Like, you know, your nuclear family. I mean, is that heaven or hell? I don't know. like after you die, and you're like, oh great, my whole nuclear family's still here with me. And
we'll see. Like in the song Green Door, they talk about personal hells.
Yes,
like every room in this bureaucratic hallway system of hell is like every room is a personal hell.
Right.
But you never really talk about personal heavens, you know?
Right.
Heaven is less of a solipsistic experience. It's
Right.
more of a shared thing.
And heaven is very horny too.
Yes.
It turns out. A lot
Heaven
of
is
skin.
super horny.
I just went to a random still. It's two teens making out, of course.
Right. And I mentioned this like when we were introducing the film, but like this contains one of the most fascinating moments to me, which is when the father who we've been following is like now with his family, like shirtless, like wearing a golden cape, and like, I don't know. It's just very, wow, my dad's hot. There's even that line where they're like, wow, grandma and grandpa, they look so young. And it's just kind of like, holy shit, like I could fuck my family here. This is amazing.
I mean, it's heaven, you know, like anything goes.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, you know.
What's going to happen? They're going to send you to hell? Huh?
Right. Yeah. Anything goes, baby.
It's
We made it
actually
this far.
a good lesson in this and a lot of end times videos is that make sure you're an adult when the apocalypse happens, because otherwise you'll just be a kid forever.
Right.
Yeah,
You'll
we were
be like
debating,
Kirsten Dunst in Interview with a Vampire. It's like stuck that way.
we were debating the heaven age.
Right. So
We were saying like 25 or something.
Yeah, it's 25.
Woodrow, we've previously reviewed a very popular contemporary Christian film, more in the mainstream Christian variety, called Heaven is for Real. It's based.
Oh yeah, Heaven is for Real.
You're familiar?
Totally. I am familiar with Heaven is for Real.
Yeah. Colton Burpo, the main character of Heaven is for Real, you know, he wrote that best-selling book, Heaven is for Real, the movie's based on. And he gave many insincere interviews where various conservative pundits, like our Boys Bible Study personal favorite interview, one of our favorite videos of all time is Colton Burpo on Hannity. And Hannity's being like, so what is it like in heaven? And he's like, everyone's in their prime, you know, like 20, 30. Like, I can't remember. He might say like 25. But it's just like the idea of like the sexual prime as like your heaven age
is so horny.
It's so horny.
Yeah.
Hey, I guess like why wouldn't it be? But it's just still very like it's funny because like, you know, the Colton Burpo story, like that's sort of implied. I mean, you don't really have to think about it like that because, you know, I guess there could be other reasons, you know, oh, you're in like good physical health. But like, what is it really? And it's like that's the time when you can like you're in your sexual prime, when you could like theoretically like enjoy your body the most, and like everyone's just all these like nubile like young bodies in heaven. So I think even in like the tame versions of that story, that's still an element, but this cult is just like honest enough to like explore that idea to its like, you know, utmost conclusion.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just glad to be of heaven age right now.
Right.
Like I'm so thankful.
Yeah, we made it. We made it.
This must be heaven.
I'm not going to be stuck being a kid in heaven.
Heaven? No. Oh my God. No. Yeah. No. So
can we talk about that that flying baby?
Oh, I love that. One of the best moments of the whole piece. Oh, it's like 3/4 of a second where there's a woman just waving at like a flying baby that's like lassoed into the shot. It's
being like puppeteered by someone in a green screen suit or something.
It's so cute, honestly. Baby looks like very bewildered. Everyone can fly in heaven, even the fucking baby can fly. Do you want to be a baby in heaven?
Wait a minute. So when you're in heaven, if you're a baby, you're just stuck being a baby forever? Like that must be really frustrating, but like you never realize how frustrating it is because your memory is so bad when you're a baby.
I guess. Yeah. I think everyone should be able to be 25.
Is heaven hell for babies?
Holy shit. Holy shit.
I don't know.
Is heaven hell for babies?
It's baby hell.
It's baby hell. One man's heaven is one baby's hell. That's all I can say.
Damn.
Do you remember Walk Hard, the John C. Reilly movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that scene where Dewey Cox's brother, who died when he was little, like he gets replaced by Jonah Hill. He's being portrayed by Jonah Hill, and he's like as a ghost, as his angel. Yeah. And he's like, I'm your brother, but like now I'm older to like fit the correct age.
Well, I'm glad there's at least one version that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Who would have thought that Walk Hard has like the better end times cosmology than like any Christian movie, including 20 Minutes to Go?
Yeah, actually, everybody, make sure you go out and vote for this November for specifically. It's on the ballot for babies to be able to be 25 when they get to heaven. It's really important.
See, that's what they're packing the courts for.
Yeah, we got to pack the courts to make sure that babies are allowed to grow to 25. Measure 25 is Measure 666, as it's known on the ballot. Vote no on 666. That's the one that will consolidate all governments into an international New World Order, you could say. Measure 25 allows babies to grow to their sexual prime so that everyone can have the most fun in heaven. Final track on this impeccable mix, Born Again.
The king of love came in and broke every chain. He gave me peace and joy. I'm born again.
Oh yes, Born Again.
This is sort of a general song. Like, you know, we've seen the family die and go to heaven. This is kind of like a look back onto what's possible for you on earth, which is that you can be born again. You can find Jesus and be born again.
Which at first I thought it's weird that it's in this order, like it should be in the middle or something. But on second thought, it makes sense because you've just watched all this and you're like, well, I don't want to get swallowed up in the apocalypse and just go to Hellraiser hell.
Yeah.
Ran down a mysterious hallway, ran up in my own personal hell. It makes sense that you're trying to convert you at the end.
we did mention this already, but this is the song that contains the scene where a guy's like looking back and his punk friends are like kind of trying to get his attention. He's like, no, guys, I'm playing acoustic guitar with my friends who I go out on a yacht with. I'm a prep now, okay? And Avril Lavigne, the great songwriter Avril Lavigne, once said, "Take off all your preppy clothes." Whereas I would say that the Children of God cult would have the opposite message. And maybe Avril Lavigne in their cosmology is hellbound for being a nasty punk.
Yeah.
I wonder what the preppies are drinking, though, because the punks are drinking like wine out of wine glasses, like proper bottles. It's not like shitty box wine or anything like that.
The preps are drinking orange juice.
Oh, of course. Of course.
That's the best thing for you, okay? Or bed, drink it at the restaurant.
There's even a robot arm, like a shot of a robot arm. I think it's stock footage in SOS. And it's pouring a cup of orange juice.
Yes. They love the fucking orange juice. Okay, so that I will say, the songs we just covered are the ones that appear in the main version of 20 Minutes to Go. But this is not the end of the music videos available to you in the Children of God universe. I think there might be a whole other tape, like in the outro of 20 Minutes to Go. They seem to say there's a whole other tape that's actually called SOS.
Yes.
So I wonder, I haven't done digging to see if that whole thing is available.
I think that's the one Kathy is on.
I would love to watch that whole thing. We did as an addendum just because two of their catchiest songs are actually not in this mix. We watched SOS, which was a music video that's very preoccupied with like not just like automation and like machines replacing the workforce, but also like the feeling of being a robot in the system. Like there's like choreographed dances of people like mechanically typing, like bored typing at computers. It's like, you want to push paper all day? The system? Nah,
yeah,
come on.
It's kind of a mixed message because it's like, don't you want robots to replace those jobs?
Right.
Couldn't you focus on what's important if robots could do all the menial tasks?
If everything could be automated and, we could all have some sort of basic income. Well, that's what 666 Bernie Sanders, the Antichrist, when he rises up and tries to create a global new world order, and that's what he'll try to do. But
yeah, this insinuation too. I was talking about this earlier off air, but like the idea that like a one world government is inherently evil or like nefarious,
right?
Yeah,
like world peace, like
right,
or at least like a world with more treaties and
yeah, that's the thing because,
and diplomacy,
right? That's the thing. I mean, because I guess like I don't know if I really had to practically consider the idea of a one world government. Like I guess I am sort of scared by that idea because but it's just like I mean. The country's already like the national government's already like scary enough. Like I don't know. It's it's not that our current way of doing things is like necessarily good. I'm not saying like a world government would be better, but no, I agree. It that is used to mean like any sort of attempt at global cooperation.
Yeah. Yes. That's
right.
exactly what I mean. Yeah.
Right. Which is just like really dark.
When I think about it, I'm just thinking like abstractly, like Star Trek level, like
right.
The Federation and stuff like that. But in reality, it's a lot messier, of course.
Sure, but yeah, no, there's no even real conversation about like global collaboration. It's just not doable. And although we did mention it sort of at the start of the piece, the other essential song for pursuing the Children of God musical and music video catalog is Kathy Don't Go. You gotta listen to this banger if you haven't heard it already.
'Cause there's a very strange man at the checkout stand, and there's a laser scanner where you put your hand. Kathy, don't go to the supermarket today. Don't go, Kathy, don't go.
It's not contained in the 20 Minutes to Go video mix, but it's there. It's on YouTube. There's a version in Japanese. There's a version in Spanish. So, you can send
it's
this.
It's one of Rick Ocasek's lesser known tracks.
Yeah, it really sounds
really
like
could
it.
be.
It really does. And it's just such a fucking banger. If you look on YouTube, there's people who do covers of it. This song definitely has like a sort of new wave, like presence, like outside of the context of the film. It's like definitely campy, but like everyone loves it. Like they really succeeded.
It's
in their
propaganda.
mission.
It's how they lure you in.
It is. I mean,
Catchy little
hey,
bop.
like, you know, this film, you know, it's compelling to us. Like, it's a piece of media that outside of the context of knowing anything about this organization, it's very, very compelling. But of course, when you investigate the Family International, formerly known as Children of God, you find that something much darker goes below the surface.
I wonder how dark they still are, since in one of these links here, they said they had to kind of revamp in 1995.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I wonder how much teen sex to get new recruits is being used at this point.
Right. And there's actually quite a bit of information available about this. Like, I haven't gotten a chance to peruse like literally everything on there, but it does seem that like they had to publicly rebrand and make rules that like, you know, sexual contact with minors was like prohibited. But then apparently there was like some secret memorandum by the current leader of the group, Karen Zerby, David Berg's widow, who also went by the name Maria in the group. She released a memorandum that was basically like, well, it's not inherently bad to have, you know, sex with a teen, but it's just like against the law and we shouldn't do it. So again, I do not know the state of the cult right now. There is, like I said, if you go to the chat boards on xfamily.org, there are threads. I noticed that there's a thread just seeking information from ex-members with India connection. And this was posted in like September of 2020. So like there's conversation at the very least on this going to this day. I would not be surprised if there were still colonies and members, you know, internationally. But you know, we've done a pretty good job of covering all the material on the tape, although there's honestly so much here that there's a lot we left unsaid. Before we give it our final rating, are there some general themes or just like any observations related to this piece we haven't gotten to share yet that would be good to bring up?
Well, the editing is so fast,
yeah,
and the fact that like, you know, you're jumping all these cuts, and there's so many scene changes. You really wonder like how long it took to film this all.
Yeah, it really moves along, and there were a couple points where it seemed like people should have had speaking lines. Like I could see them talking, but you weren't hearing it because it was just music. So I was wondering if they had shot even more than this and had meant to kind of like narratively string it along more. But then once the editor got in there, just kind of went nuts. Or if like some of it didn't work too, you know what I mean? It's like, might as well just put this in music video number 3.
Well, you know, when I was like just going through the chat boards, I basically just did like a search for the phrase 20 minutes to go on the chat boards. And I found this post from an anonymous member, and like just a little excerpt from it. I'll try to summarize. They were basically going on sort of a rant about the poor money management of the organization, because they had millions of dollars in like many fronts and income sources. Like they were obviously being run on some kind of sophisticated level. But someone said this wouldn't be complete without mentioning the issue of the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that have been spent over the past 15 years beginning projects that never got off the ground, producing, in quotes, loser witnessing tools, and storing the tons of published material that never went anywhere. I wonder if any kind of feasibility or markability study was done before producing SOS or 20 minutes to go, blah, blah, blah. How many hundreds of thousands of something, DF number 36, I don't know what that means, were produced, sat in storage, and later burned. Most family witnessing tools were produced on the council or desires of family leadership. I think that's a typo, but it's supposed to say that like it was basically vanity projects done or just mismanaged, like poor decisions in the fact that like how many people did it actually recruit, but it still is this like really well produced and like fascinating piece of art that has outlasted the legacy and relevance of the cult. So I guess they did something right from an artistic standpoint.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. All right. So that was the official Boys Bible Study summary of 20 Minutes to Go. We highly recommend everyone check this out because it's so fun and catchy, and you can watch it very easily on YouTube. So do yourself a favor and check this out. Show it to your friends. Like, put it on with some friends because it'll be a crowd pleaser. Maybe more so than some of the stuff we watch that's very tedious. Woodrow, how would you rate this movie?
I would rate it 20 out of 20 Minutes to Go.
Ooh, perfect score right there. It goes to show a testament to the quality of this production.
Yeah, I would give this one shitty restaurant job you're about to get off because you just found heaven. You just found a clear path to heaven.
I completely agree. I think that like this film will give you the way out of the material world and into the spiritual. I'm gonna have to give this film a lot of love because it's gonna take a lot to change this world around, and I would say this film really changed my world around. From our friends, our esteemed friends of the Family International Cult, who I might add are investors in our Patreon. 95% of our Patreon earnings come directly from the Family International. Thank you so much for all your support. Woodrow, thank you so much for joining us and showing us this film today. I wouldn't have known about it without you. So thank you.
The pleasure is mine.
Can you once again say where people can find your art online?
Yeah, you can find me at Woodrow_White on Instagram or Woodrow White, one word, on Twitter.
I like the one-off paintings that you'll put on Insta. A lot of your work has like political themes nowadays, I've noticed.
Oh, yeah. I've been doing caricatures for a couple of years, just like as a sort of like way to like let off steam. It's mainly that part of me is mainly just a hobby, but people seem to enjoy it. Totally.
No, I like because the caricatures are really just like, first of all, they're like, you have a absolute way of capturing like the ghoulishness of people. That's a very you have a very unique caricature style that isn't really like any other artist, but it also really captures the essence. And yeah, I like seeing that on Insta. I can imagine, it's a way of like, I'm just like so frustrated at having to see this person's fucking face every day, and you can then just sort of like vent it out by doing one-offs like that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Boys Bible Study side of things. To remind you all, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Boys Bible Study. We want to, as always, thank our patron saints. People who've pledged at the $20 tier or higher get a special shout out now. Thanks to our patron saints, Nicole and Marissa, for your extreme support. Anyone who pledges at the $5 tier or higher gets access to the 2 or more bonus episodes we do every month. But if you only pledge $1 per month, you get access to our monthly live streams. We will be, we've already had our September live stream, of course. October's right around the corner. We'll let you know when that one's coming. Our outro music is Oh My God by Mary. Stream that song on Bandcamp and Spotify. On behalf of our guest today, Woodrow White, myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, we'd like to say, peace be with you.
And also with you.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day